Anyway, welcome to our candidates and welcome to our viewers to the Recorder Allegheny Mountain Radio Candidate Forum. We are here with the two candidates for County Supervisor in the March 14 special election, Connie Taylor Simmons, good evening, and Bart Perdue, good evening. Amanda McGuire from Allegheny Mountain Radio is assisting with the forum. I will describe the format for the forum, which will be as follows. Candidates will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement, followed by a question and answer session. Candidates will take turns answering questions first and will have 2 minutes to answer. If, in the interest of fairness, the first answerer will have 1 minute to respond to the second answerer's response, if desired. We will now begin with the candidates' opening statements, starting with Mr. Perdue.
Good evening. My name is Bart Perdue, and I'm running for the seat for the Warm Springs District Supervisor. I live in the Muddy Run area with my wife, Marcia, my children, Faith, Hope, Owen, and Cade. I'm a member of Lifeline Ministries Church. I served 4 years as supervisor from January 1st, 2012 to December 31st, 2015. Served as Emergency Service Director for 2014 and 2015. I currently serve on the Bath County Public Service Authority as chairman for the last 2 years and was selected as chairman for the current year. I have a bachelor's degree from West Virginia University in history and a master's degree from the University of Phoenix in secondary education. I enjoy hunting, fishing, coaching youth league baseball and football. There are several positive things going on in Bath County right now, with the Speyside locating in the Millboro Industrial Park and bringing 30 jobs to the area. The county is also moving forward with the Visitor Center in Mitchelltown, and I hope you all take the opportunity to comment on what will ultimately happen with that property. Bath County Fire and Rescue Association has Bath County's fire and rescue squads working together to provide the county with the highest level of services possible. I'd like to continue to move the county forward in a positive direction and further accommodate more economic development in Bath County.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons.
My name is Connie Taylor Simmons, and I live with my husband, Denny, in Bacova. I relocated here from Northern Virginia after spending 30 years there. My mother and father lived in Millboro. My dad is still living. My mother was originally from Warm Springs. She was a deputy sheriff and magistrate for the county. And my grandparents, aunts, uncles, rest of my family were all raised here in Bath County, and I spent a lot of my summers here. In the interim, I grew up in Sturts Draft. I went to college in Tennessee. I have a bachelor's in philosophy, clinical psychology, and sociology with an emphasis in mathematical logistics, with a career in law enforcement. I spent 11 years there in that field. I've also been an administrative assistant, and I spend a lot of my time knitting, making jewelry, as a leisure activity, so to speak. One of the things, I haven't held office here in Bath County. I've done civic organizations and things of that nature, but one of the things that I would like to see here basically is our job and industry creation. I think we need to be a little bit more proactive as opposed to reactive in the things that we have done in the past in the county. I look forward to meeting and greeting as many people as possible. I want their ideas, their opinions, and I don't want those things to fall on deaf ears. I think, being able to react with people here in the county is a wonderful thing, and I have just had so much fun in doing this. I've learned a lot, and I encourage everybody to go out there and do a lot of public things. Be just as active as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now start with the question and answer session, and Mr. Perdue volunteered to go first. Question number 1. Data from the Virginia Tourism Corporation shows that tourism-related expenditures in Bath County increased by $57 million after the county created a tourism office and appointed a Director of Tourism and Economic Development. Supervisors eliminated the directorship position in that office in September. Do you support the county rehiring a Director of Tourism and Economic Development, or do you support the current board's decision to assign those responsibilities to the county administrator and the tourism coordinator?
Well, I think you may need not necessarily to hire a tourism director, but you may be ahead to hire an economic development director and, give Celine the opportunity to do the tourism and give somebody else the opportunity to do the economic development. I think if you've got two people working on it, they can focus on their own thing rather than trying to cross lines and, it's just going two different ways possibly. I'd like to see more industry, instead of everything going towards, tourism. I think we need to look both ways. I mean, we've got a good start. It's with Speyside. I'm hoping maybe we can find something to complement them, complement them. What can we do to complement our tourism? So I think you may want two positions rather than just one. And the county administrator's got a big enough job as it is. So can he really keep up with what we need done in the economic development area? So.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons?
Well, I think Mr. Harrison, too, also has enough on his plate at the present moment. And we certainly need another director. And I think we also need a director for economic development. One of the things when Ms. Anderson had both of those positions, you couldn't at that time devote yourself 100% to each job because they're two very, very important positions in this county. And in order to be able to fulfill those positions, you need to devote the time. And I think that economic development is extremely important because we need industry, we need jobs, we need a scale that people can look forward to here in this area. At the same time, our tourism dollars are very, very important. One of the things that I have always stressed upon is what are the things that we can do other than having a resort here in this area? What other programs do we have to offer to people, particularly in the way of jobs? So an economic development director is very, very important, and I think is even foremost more important than having even tourism. I'm not saying that tourism is a bad thing. Our county speaks for itself when it comes to tourism. I mean, we have a wonderful resort, we have wonderful hunting, fishing, all those types of things, and then at the same time we have artisans here in this area that we need to definitely support.
Thank you very much. Mr. Perdue, do you have a response to
I mean, with the economy goes everything, and I feel like we have a drug problem in Bath County, and I think if you get some living wage jobs here, maybe you can ease up some of that. But we got to get our kids to come back here. I think that's our biggest problem is we continue to lose kids. While I was on the board the first time, we lost like 150 kids in the school system. So getting them to come back after they leave and go to school or whatever, we need to get them to come back here. And you have to have living wage jobs where they can afford to live here.
Thank you. We'll move to question number 2 now, and we'll start with Ms. Simmons. Ms. Simmons, the county is facing a budget shortfall due to decreased revenue from local, state, and federal sources. What are your ideas for balancing the county budget?
Well, that is a good question. Not understanding really, how much of a shortfall we are going to have, not knowing what those numbers are going to be. I think it's very important that, if we can't do for ourselves in that sense, then we need to seriously think about creating those job positions, bringing that industry in here, something that is going to help, as many people as possible. I mean, I've come up with some what I think pretty good ideas for, some revenue aspects, some type of jobs that, would benefit this county greatly, and again coincide with Space Ad that is coming, that is right around the corner with, having the 30 jobs that they're planning on offering. Having been in Northern Virginia and seeing the type of industry there, even, other places within the county, I'm sorry, within the state, that we could, benefit from, we need to reach out to other communities too and look at some of the things that they have done in order to increase their revenue when there have been shortfalls.
Thank you. Mr. Perdue.
Well, it's probably not going to be popular, but, I think you need to equalize the tax rate. The current rate, if we keep it, we're down over $150,000 right off the bat. We've been digging into this fund balance for several years now. This, I guess, would probably be about the third year in a row we've actually dug into it. We were budgeted to dig into it, 5 years in a row. Also, another positive, in 5 years, the county's debt-free. If we can keep it if we can keep at the current rate, our debt will be paid off in 5 years. That's over $1 million a year we're spending on debt, and that $1 million would go a long way when we're $170,000 in the hole, But, we need to take a look also at what our wants are and what our needs are. We need to prioritize the needs and, focus on the needs rather than the wants right now until we can get in a better situation, which, is really close. We're really close to being there. So.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons, do you have a response?
Well, we need a better tax base. Right off the bat, you look at Rockbridge County and look what they charge in personal property versus ours. I'll give you an example. My vehicle over in Rockbridge would yield them $845 versus, $25 here. And I know that means a lot to some people, but we could certainly find a happy medium in there somewhere, to offset our tax base a little bit. Unfortunately, we don't own property here in the aspect of real estate, but I know we have $1 million properties here that I'm sure we get some very good, tax rates on as well. So, at that point in time, unless we can do a little bit better, I'm definitely for being out of debt. I think that would be an absolute great thing for this county. But I have to kind of go with the old adage a little bit. You have to spend a little bit of money to make a little bit of money. Maybe we need to, to spend some money in some programs here in order to entice more people to come in here to, have a little bit better. If everybody's leaving this county all the time, it isn't any wonder that, our tax base is constantly gone. Our kids are leaving. We got to make it to where, they need to come back home. But we need to also have those jobs for them to come back to.
Now we'll move on to question number 3, and we will start with Mr. Perdue. Do you support or oppose the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and why?
Well, I'd support it a lot more if it didn't come right through Bath County. But it does, and, we've got people in our district that are going to be affected by it. And, after talking to some of those people, they're really upset. And they should be. So I agree that it probably shouldn't come through here.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons.
I don't believe in it either. I don't believe in the pipeline coming through Bath County. I don't believe it coming through most of Virginia, for that matter, particularly like Augusta County. It concerns me that, have they thought about this in the sense that I know that they want to run very close to the schools in Augusta County. And I'm like, our children are more important than a pipeline. There are other ways that they can plan this, and, I'm just not a proponent of it. Fort Lewis Farm is one of the areas here, I don't want to see that damaged by having a pipeline built through that area. My mother was raised at Fort Lewis, and, it's heartbreaking to see something like that happen, here. Pipeline needs to stay out of Virginia, needs to stay out of Bath County, needs to stay away from our families, because in the event something happens with this pipeline and something goes bad or goes awry, how many lives are going to be affected, harmed, even killed? You don't want to go that route. So it's better off that it just doesn't come at all.
Thank you. Mr. Perdue, a response? Okay, then we will move to question number 4 and begin with Ms. Simmons. What are your thoughts on the quality of internet and cellular service in Bath County, and what would you do to improve internet and cellular service in Bath County?
I am so glad I got that question, because I'll give you a very good example. The other night, we had an outage, electrical outage, and one of the big things is I'm always the one who wants to contact Bart, because, does somebody else wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning? It was 2:16 in the morning when we had this outage, and sure enough, I was up. And I complained to my husband. We only have cell service in Bacova, and it's very sketchy at best. And I understand that Green Bank controls a lot of what goes on with our area, and I absolutely want internet and cell service here, because I think lives are more important than ET phoning home, basically. And it's not that I don't want to, that we need to take away from Green Bank. I understand how important it is to them and the other governments that use that facility, but I think having service here and it not just being limited basically to the homestead, having a cell tower there, I think we need cell towers all over. And one of the things that they do in Northern Virginia is they camouflage those towers that you don't know if you're looking at a tree or not looking at a tree. They don't want to look at those things either any more than we would want to, but, they seem to thrive on it, and it would certainly help, particularly in emergency services. If I can barely get a phone call through to Bark Electric, what's it going to be like when I absolutely need that service and have to call for fire or rescue and can't because I don't have service enough to do it with? So absolutely cell and internet for this county. That's one of the things that, I would look forward to working on.
Thank you. Mr. Perdue.
Well, we're working on a broadband project with Highland the last time I was on the board. We need to continue to try to do that. It would be great to have a cell phone tower on Duncan's Knob. You also probably need one probably in Mountain Grove somewhere. Those are your places where you're not having service. You're also seem to have lost service in like Warm Springs. And you used to have fine service, but if you're driving out 220 towards 39 out through there, you lose service right there on Warm Springs. And it used to not be like that. I hunt in Highland County, and I used to be able to get on the internet on my deer stand. Now you can't. You used to be able to text from my deer stand. Now you can't. Just in a year. So I don't know what's happened there. But somebody probably needs to look into it. we need to probably figure out a way to get some high-speed internet into Mountain Grove. If we've got to beam it over there with wireless, or whatever. But it's going to take a public-private partnership to do it. You know, the county isn't really in a position to make it happen without help from the private sector. And, you know, MGW and TDS and hopefully Verizon would get involved, and it'd be nice to really expand it. But it's not, you know, it's not totally up to the county. It's up to those other people who are, you know, going to make the money off of it. I mean, we can invest with them if they're willing to make the investment, you know, and I think we'd be a long way ahead to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons, any response?
No, thank you.
We will move to question number 5 and begin with Mr. Perdue. What are your thoughts on open government and transparency? And what would you do to ensure that the Board of Supervisors complies with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act?
Well, I think, you know, we all need to, when you first get on the board, you go to Richmond and you get inundated with all this stuff and you remember parts of it. And you don't remember, you know, you don't remember everything. You're down there for 2 days going through new supervisor classes. Well, you know, we should probably have training here every year about FOIA. It wouldn't be that hard to do. I think we've got an excellent law firm now, and they should definitely be up to date on it. And really, I hate closed meetings. I understand that sometimes you have issues you have to talk about in closed meeting. So far, since I've been back the last few months, we haven't had one, and it's refreshing to not. I think it's nice to lay it all out on the line in front of everybody, you know, without basically deciding behind closed doors what's going to happen, without people actually seeing the process of what's going to happen. And, you know, if you call the county administrator and you have a legitimate question, or you call me and have a legitimate question, you know, I should be able to answer it. And I should be able to answer it in my words. You know, I don't believe in hiding a bunch of stuff from people. It's their government. They should be totally involved in it. And if they want to know something, you know, barring like, you know, top secret classified information, which some of it should probably be, you know. I mean, like the space side thing, you wanted to keep their name out of it until they were ready to go public with it. And, you know, you just need to do that. But legitimate questions, and you should be able to answer it right then.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons.
Well, I feel like I'm one of the most transparent people there are, and I definitely believe in our government being as transparent as possible. The last time I looked, we were Bath County, not the CIA. So there's nothing secretive here that we should be keeping from any of our constituents, our citizens, or anything else. I mean, closed door is fine, but you don't go into a closed door and then immediately say someone's name when you come out of it. If you're going to be that secretive about it, then keep it on a professional level and not divulge information like that. You know, I believe that freedom of information is very important, and everyone has a right to know as much as possible. I think we could do a lot better job. You know, it just, again, I think they've been more reactive than being proactive about the things that they could do and how our board has handled things in the past. Don't delve on the same issue over and over again. Just keep moving forward. And, you know, I know it's a very difficult thing, but you know, do the best that you can with it. You know, everybody deserves that common courtesy when it comes to, you know, the information that's dealt out there and the things that they have to work on, be respectful of that, you know, as best as possible. You don't have to threaten anybody. You know, that's not what this county's about. We've got more things on our plate than being disrespectful, being hurtful to each other, and, you know, I think that we can definitely learn from everything that's happened, particularly in the past 6 months, at least the last 6 months.
Thank you. Mr. Perdue, response?
No, I'm fine.
Thank you. We will now go to question 6, and we will begin with Ms. Simmons. In the last 5 months, many citizens have expressed anger and frustration with the conduct and decision-making of county supervisors. What would you do to gain the public trust and confidence in your role as a supervisor?
I would let people know that their ideas, their opinions will not fall on deaf ears. I think that's one of the things that has happened in the past. People here in the county have basically become apathetic because they haven't been listened to. Their wants, their needs have not been taken into consideration. At least not fully taken into consideration. And I think as a supervisor, that's one of the things that I want people to know about me, is that I'm going to be out there working for you. I'm going to be listening to you. I'm going to be asking you questions as to what you want, what you need, what you would like to see us do here for you in the county. And at the same time, you know, in a professional and respectful manner, I want you to do the same thing to me. You know, I want you to keep me on my toes. You know, if I slack, I want you right there saying, you know, this is what you said you would do. Again, I'm only human, but as a supervisor, I want to work for the people here in the county. You know, I want to, it's a privilege. I look at it that much. You know, it is not something that is supposed to be given to me. It's a privilege to do for people here in this county. One of the things that I told Mr. Harrison when I first applied for the interim position is that I do not want any money whatsoever for this position. My understanding is that there is a stipend, you know, that things are covered. I don't need that. The county needs that money more for the programs for its citizens than I do in my pocket. And that's one of the things that I truly believe in, that it's an honor to be able to do this, you know, to be serving the community as best I can.
Thank you. Mr. Perdue.
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to focus on the positives that are happening now. You know, we got the visitor center moving ahead pretty fast. Hoping, you know, maybe we can really get some progress on it by summertime, you know. Maybe even, you know, far-fetched maybe, but start doing some groundwork, at least get these buildings tore down. You know, you've also got Speyside. By this time next year, they said they were going to have like 30 jobs here. The Omni is, you know, does good business, you know, and they get people here. And you've also got Sam Sneed's being under some new ownership. They're doing a pile of work to it. You know, the Homestead stepped away from it, and you know, some private people stepped up and are doing what I think is a great job with it. But also, if you have questions, reach out to me. You know, call me on the phone. People haven't really been shy about doing that lately, and that's a real positive. A lot of times you don't get that. So email me, call me, stop by the house. You know, a lot of people know where I live anyway, so, but that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons, a response?
Actually, the visitor center, in looking at everything that they have done of late, I think that's going to be a road that's going to be a minimum of 2 years in the making. There's still a lot of things that need to be done. Environmental, engineering needs to take place, as well as demolition, as rebuilt in different stages. So it's something that I don't see, that's going to happen tomorrow, next month. Speyside, yes, should be up and running probably between September and October. I'm looking forward to those folks being here and having the opportunity to even talk to them, about the cooperage in and of itself. Because I don't work for the homestead and I don't know a lot about what goes on at the homestead, because the homestead is basically for the guests, not basically for the people who live here. So I don't know what goes on at the homestead a lot. It just seems that although people here in the county work for the homestead really doesn't want to do a whole lot with the people who live here. It's not like we can come to their functions. We're not their guest. So I really can't say too much about the homestead. And as for Sam Sneed's, hallelujah, if there's going to be another place in this county to eat. That's coming from a place where restaurants were more than abundant on every other, corner. It seemed like the few that we have here, although they're good, I would definitely love to have and see more variety of restaurants. And, I hope that, Sam Sneed's 1912, is going to be bigger and better. So.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question, maybe two, depending on how flexible you guys are. But question number 7, we'll start with Mr. Perdue. Preservation Bath has proposed a National Historic District encompassing Warm Springs and West Warm Springs. Do you support or oppose the proposed historic district, and why?
Well, right now, I support it. I think it may be an opportunity to put Warm Springs back on the map a little bit. I feel like some people focus on hot springs for the tourism all the time, when there's a whole county around full of wonderful things to do. It may provide somebody the spark they need to start some sort of small business, anything in Warm Springs. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people who are scared to death that we're going to make like a local historic district or something, and it could slip into that. I really hope you come to the meeting at the Dairy Barn on March 9th at 6:30 and voice your concerns. Say what you want, especially if you live in that area. Come to that meeting. Tell us how you feel. The decision hasn't been made. If you really have legitimate concerns, voice them. I think that's your opportunity. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think. You hear from 5 or 6 people, it's about, I haven't heard any, there's one that I know is dead set against it, but then other people are like, well, what is really going on? They feel like they don't know enough about it to make a decision one way or the other. And, I support it. But then again, I do have reservations because, so many people want to know what's happening. So.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons.
Unfortunately, I really don't know a whole lot. And that is one of the reasons why I'm going to be attending that meeting at the Dairy Barn, because, I just don't know the differences between the two. you know, making it historic, making it local, all the issues and concerns that people have. Again, along with Bart, I know that there is one person who is totally dead set against, you know, for making Warm Springs an historic district. But then I don't know enough about, you know, what it is that they really want to accomplish, you know, by doing this. I look at, you know, Bath County as a whole, and it's historic in nature, but I think they need to do a little bit more planning, and being a little bit more informative to people to let them know what's going on before they make any type of decision. Because if this is a decision that, you know, that they want to make and it becomes something that they can't reverse, then let's make sure that we have, you know, everything in place before there's a vote taken on it.
Thank you. Mr. Perdue, any?
I'll just say that I would absolutely not want to make it a local historic district, ever.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate both of you candidates being here. I told you we would try to end up on time, and I will keep that promise. Thank you to the candidates for participating in this evening's forum, and thank you to Amanda McGuire from Allegheny Mountain Radio for her assistance with the forum. Finally, thank you for visiting the Recorder website and reading our award-winning newspaper. Good evening, everybody.